Welcome to the final part of the series titled Guide to Discover Your Purpose. Before we move into tonight's discourse, let's do a quick recap. The first part was identification as well as acceptance of your purpose, how to identify as well as accept. And if you understood what I said in the beginning stages of that teaching, the word identify is intentional as opposed to find. When you say find, you're talking of something external. You're talking of something you need to go out of your way to look for. You are in pursuit of something completely external. Find. Conversely, when you use the word identify, it shifts the focus towards yourself. Identify. It means it already exists. All you need to do is come in the consciousness of this power. And the best of things are the ones hidden in plain sight. Because usually the human brain is hardwired, it resonates more with difficulty. So once you say find, instantly you bask in the assumption that it will be difficult to find, and it's usually something external. You have to read tons of books, you have to go out of your way in order to find this purpose. But it's not the case as you learned in the first series. The second series, the second part was the struggles associated with purpose. There I shared that the beginning stages, it might be easy, but in that messy middle, the moment you begin to manifest all kinds of problems, Paul, dismiss this idea that I'm a young lady, I'm honest, because I do not trouble anyone. By that logic, no one should trouble me. My friend, you attract haters. Growth or hate is a byproduct of growth. If you do not have anybody hating on you, it means you're like everybody. It means you're not doing something significant to attract people's attention. The celebrities, the media dogs and tear down, and individuals use them as topic, discourse of the day. Question: where were these individuals? Where was the media? Where was all these people suddenly interested in them 5, 6, 7 years ago? Exactly. Once you begin to manifest by that logic, hate is a byproduct, envy is a byproduct. All of a sudden, your actions are misread. Even the simplest of gestures is assumed for arrogance, and all of this is a concerted effort to tear down your reputation. If you listen carefully, I share the faction of individuals who are already convicted it's impossible for me to be a success, or I'm not ready to pay the price of what it takes to be an overachiever. Therefore, my purpose, I find solace in the tearing down of individuals. I find solace in pulling people down. I find solace in orchestrating the downfall of another individual. Which leads us to the final stage. In tonight's discourse, this final part is titled Finishing and Actualizing Your Purpose. Finishing and Actualizing Your Purpose. Notice the two words. If you listen to my content, I want you to understand that all my words are deliberate. There are meanings attached to those words. Like the first one, identify, not find. Now we are talking about finishing as well as actualizing. Finishing. What does it mean to finish? to see something to an end, to see your purpose to an end. This might sound counterintuitive in the sense that once you begin living out your purpose, once you start that business, once you become a content creator, once you actualize the goal of being a chef, the byproduct is to finish. The byproduct is to live out your assignment, which is not the case. In tonight's discourse, I'll be highlighting various distractions that can hinder progress, various distractions or various things that will truncate your impact, that will shorten your lifespan. The first one is pride. Pride, pride, pride. Pride is the downfall of every man. Pride. I've forgotten that philosophy. Very unusual, but pride is the downfall of every man. Pride is a state of heart where you arrive at, is there anything else to learn? Is there anything else to do? Pride is the foolish assumption you've accomplished every single thing there is to accomplish. The only thing left is to enjoy your wealth, enjoy the accomplishment, which is a flawed way of thinking because there are highs. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. Success is a marathon, it's not a sprint. You are always handing the baton. That's why in my video on mentorship, I talk about mentors using their experience, using their own life to save 20, 30, 40 years of pain, compressing it in 2 to 3, 4 days, therefore saving you the equivalent or more of years. Then that gap, that space, they were not able to tread as a consequence of time because age will damage you and time is a fire we all burn in. You tread that journey, you tread that path. So if at any point in the journey you decide as a as an act of your will, you're done. You choose to stop there. The path doesn't end there. You chose to stop there. There are two different things. I chose to stop here. I chose to camp here. Than this is the end of the journey. There are two different things. Even our life is not enough to finish the path of success. We cannot do everything, but we can do something. You are called. There is an assignment for you to live out. Pride. The road pride. Pride is the number one cancer of success. The moment pride sets in your career, you're on your way down. Unfortunately, as you begin to rise, the more dangerous it is when you fall because altitude matters in fall. If you roll from your bed, the effect is not as damaging if you fall from a skyscraper. That's why very few people survive plane crashes because of the altitude. I'll give you two keys on how to finish and actualize purpose. Now listen very carefully because what you're about to hear is not some gibberish or some sentence distilled from one philosopher combined with personal anecdotes. No, these are keys, experiences I've lived out. These teachings are a consequence of pain, sacrifice, and dedication to the game. So listen very carefully. The first key in order to help actualize purpose, finish strong, is consistency. Consistency is a point where, regardless of the result, you still pursue, you still try. And when I say irregardless of the result, it sounds counterintuitive because it's only failure that makes you want to stop. Unfortunately, I've realized in my own life that failure or success leads to complacency, which leads to decline. That failure or success eventually would achieve the same outcome. So failure in the sense that I've tried my best at this, I've given it my all, I've done XYZ, I've gone into debt, yet this result hasn't materialized. Therefore, I quit. Understandable. Success, on the other hand, I've gotten to a point where I've achieved a little bit of result. So this is the best time to take my foot off the gas. And before you look back, that season, that chapter has closed. It is evident in the life of athletes. There are players, athletes we see or we used to see who rose to the ranks of fame, forgetting the consecration demands that brought them to this position of admiration. They spent their time in parties, basking in luxury, enjoying their newfound fame. And before you know it, they were leaving town like a they were leaving town like a folding circus. Consistency, the drive to press, the drive to press. And the only reason you can stand even in the midst of success and there is a desire, there is a press to continue is if you have vision, which leads us to number two, vision. Vision. One of the strategies successful companies use to remain relevant, how successful companies outlive the visionaire is through vision. Vision, which is just the first one. You are not in a business seminar, but let me give you three ways a company can outlive the visionaire. Number one, vision, as I would explain. Number two, values. Values, the company values, what the company stands for. And values are not sentences reduced to a cardboard stuck on the wall. Values needs to be embodied in action, in thinking by the employees and every single person within the vicinity of the organization. Values, what you believe, what you stand for. In my own company, one of our values is customers over profit. So there are times, for instance, in this company I have that manages rental properties, there are times where we transport a network provider to one of the assets in management and in a bus or in a car of 4 to 6 passengers, only one of them is transported in order to solve or meet with the demand of the tenant. Now, in most companies, they would wait until the demand is high in order to conserve fuel or to save money. In summary, things that lead towards cost savings. Isn't like that in my corporation. So vision, values. What's the last one? Passion. Passion for what you do. Because it is very difficult to open a business. It is very difficult to become successful in a venture. And the problems, challenges you meet along the line, any sane person would give up. You really, really need to love what you're doing in order to stand. Take Elon, for instance. First rocket failure, motivated as hell. Second rocket failure, inspires the team. Spirits are down. You're going to go to Mars, and he truly believed it. Third rocket failure. You need passion. In a recent interview he shared, for every rocket blown up, $50 million, $100 million taken into account marginal expenses. So about $300 million exploded, like your vision exploded literally in your face. So the only kind of thing that will give you courage to persist is passion, loving what you do. Majority would pack it up once 50, $100 million blew in their sight. There are very few people who would attain that level of finances, let alone experiment with it. Unfortunately, those who don't take risks never receive rewards. Risk and rewards go together. You want to live a successful life, yet you want to be comfortable. It doesn't correlate. One goes with the other. How did we get here? This is not a business seminar. So back to the second one, which is vision. Vision. There must be a vision, a predefined place, something that keeps you motivated, regardless of what height attained. Now, after the recording, this is the last series. I'm sure a lot of people will be transformed by this discourse. I will get tons of emails, tons of thank you messages, both in the comment section, my private social handle, and various ways of contact. It would be stupid to bask in this result, camp around it. It would be stupid because there are more. There is a version of myself I have seen. There is a vision. There is something we need to do. The platform is global. So thank God for this little transformation here and there, but there is more. Vision helps keep you in check. It helps give you the sense of direction because humans get very bored easily. And in the boredom, you would seek any and everything to get you going. That's why majority of people, once they hit their first million, second million, 10 million, they stop. It's as though life loses all of its sting. Because previously you were so broke that you do any and everything in order to get out of that state. So the process was enjoyable. You did every single thing, got up early, motivated as hell. Now you've achieved the goal. The tuition fees are paid. Your wife is getting the best medical care. The family is alright. There's nothing to strive towards. And I share in my video on business that businesses are born out of three reasons. One, one is passion, vision, or hunger. Most of the businesses we have today are born out of the third one, which is hunger. Unfortunately, once you solve the hunger issue, the business collapses because there's no longer vision, no longer driving factor to sustain it. In fact, if you look at one of the most successful companies in today's day and age, they started out to solve a problem, not to make money. Jobs, in an interview from early 2000s, sharing the vision of Apple, there was no mention of profit, no mention of finances, all a desire to make the human race easier. All the Apple products are an offshoot of that desire, vehicles of that desire. And today, Apple stands as a monument of a man's vision. Vision, very important in remaining. Now, the first is not consistency. The first is complacency. My apologies, I substituted the words. So if you're writing down, change consistency to complacency. I'm sure you're looking for ways of application, and there are tons of ways. I've given you the prescription, I've highlighted the problem as well as giving you the solution. Complacency leads to pride. Do not fall for that trap. This is more of an avoidance video as well as a prescription video to avoid complacency and the byproduct. One of the ways, there are tons of ways in order to remain consistent. There are tons of ways in order to actualize your purpose. But I'm giving you a byproduct. Remember my teaching on cause and effect. Instead of solving problems with problems or by locking horns with that problem, solve the problem with the cause and the effect vanishes. Remember the analogy of the absence of finances. Your health takes a hit, your marriage is in jeopardy, and there are all of these problems which are offshoots of the absence of finances. It would be stupid to tackle those problems individually as opposed to the real thing that needs change. In this case, complacency, the counterpart is vision. Once you are a visionaire, it's impossible for you to become complacent. And you know this is where you are going. And this current result, while men celebrate and applaud, you know this is only one step of the out of the cave. There is more. It is painful to be once great. It is painful to be once celebrated. Our world today is filled with people who bask in their yesteryears as though there is nothing else going on in their life. Yes, in 2020, when, yes, I used to drive this car. Those days when, those days when we were successful, as though the economy collapsed globally, as though nobody is making millions of dollars. It's a very unfortunate reality to exist in. And if you do not take my hidden, if you do not adhere strictly to my advice and live by this key, you would have yourself to blame. We come to a conclusion of what has been a very interesting series on purpose. And I truly believe if you watch these videos, go through them, implement the keys, follow them judiciously, you would achieve. As always, my friend, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.